Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway and another week of our scheduled FPJ content. Tonight, the Intimidator Cup Series will take on qualifying from the mile-and-a-half here in Atlanta. We're coming to you a little bit later than usual, so our qualifying session is actually about to boot here in about 3 seconds. And let me tell you what, there are a ton of cars ready to take to the racetrack tonight to solidify their spot on tomorrow night's grid. To be exact, about 26 cars have shown up tonight to try to make their way as close to the front of the grid as possible. You see the cars disappear off your screen. They'll load onto pit road. And we will get started for you here in just 1 second. We'll give everybody a chance to get in their cars before we start here. So we'll give it just a second. We should get going here pretty quickly, though. First car up of the night is going to be Cody Harrelson. That's a name you won't recognize. He is new to Full Pedal Jacket. Several new names in the session with us tonight. Guys making their first start. And I'm telling you what, a lot of them are going to be very competitive here as we move on into the rest of the season. So a bit of a shakeup in the names on the grid tonight. So, as the names shake up, the competition will not. It'll be just as heated, if not more so, as we move on here from Atlanta. This is race number 6. So, as we are inching closer and closer to the cutoff line here for the playoffs for Full Pedal Jacket, the competition's only going to ramp up from here. As Harrelson rolls through the pit road, he'll roll onto the speedway. Cody Harrelson in the 4K, our first lettered number this year. A little bit of a dirt racing background for Cody. But he comes to us to run some asphalt, test his talents. We'll see how he does here in his first go-around in qualifying. Comes down to the start-finish line and takes the green flag for his first lap. Off turn 2, carrying some decent speed. Slides the car into the outside wall, bounces off of it. Is going to get it back up to speed. He hit it pretty hard. Let's see what he can salvage out of his first lap. That's going to be one thing these guys struggle with the weather sitting right around 70 degrees, but almost 90% humidity. These guys are going to be struggling big time with grip on corner exit. It's going to be a problem we see guys fight with in the race tomorrow and in traffic. It could prove to be very dangerous. Especially turn 4, but it happens off turn 2. You clearly just saw it right there as they come off the banking transition. The bumpy surface definitely does not help. The bumps bottom the car out right in the middle of the corner. Gets unsettled, comes out, the back end comes out from underneath you. You got to try to catch it or risk spinning and overcorrecting over there to that outside retaining wall. Cody Harrelson. His lap is not going to count with the incident points. I thought he only took 1, but it's a little bit of a lost cause now, I think. Down the backstretch, appears he's going to settle for starting near the back of the field.
Yeah, hey, it's saying lap 3 for us.
So Harrelson will settle for 1 lap. Obviously, the damage to that race car, maybe a little bit too much to put down a lap he'd be satisfied with. So he'll cut his losses.
It's not going to count. I have damage.
So he'll cut his losses and start from near the back of the field. So he'll be on the grid. He'll be near the back of it. Oh, and the engine goes as he hits pit road. At least he made it to pit road. And he comes to a stop short of his pit box. So not the run he wanted in his first run. Let's see if he can improve it a little bit in the race tomorrow. Next up on the racetrack is Paul Ferdiani in the 66. He'll roll onto the speedway. If you missed our race last week, it was, how should I put this? Action-packed, to say the least. Some might say a wreckfest. I mean, you could call it that. The finish was definitely worth it, though. Mason Hausman coming out with the victory there to lock himself into the playoffs. Yeah. So Ferdiani starts his first lap here. See, he runs a little bit of a higher line. That may have been part of the issue as well, the way that the car runs now. If you try to run the bottom, obviously it's the fastest way around the racetrack time-wise, but man, there's no grip on corner exit down there. So you see Paul is taking a little bit of a more conservative approach, just trying to get a lap time down. First lap for Paul's 30.44. See if he can improve it on lap number 2. He's going to dip down a little bit further. Lets the car kind of ride up the racetrack itself. Maybe slid the car there a little bit on corner exit, but obviously trying to carry some speed off turn 2 down to 3. Again, dips a little bit lower down below that first seam you see in the racetrack. Off turn 4. Ferdiani's second lap. Comes in at a 30.068. He improves on his lap time there for his second of 2. We'll give, I believe it was, he counted a 30.44 and a 30.06. Oh boy. No, he took a third lap, I think. Oh! Oh. There he goes. He's going to come around and bring it to pit road, I think. A little bit over anxious on the third lap there. He's ready to go racing tomorrow. I don't blame him at all. So we'll let him get it woed down here on the back straightaway. We'll see if he brings it all the way around or if he just parks it. Looks like he's going to bring it all the way around. Let him do that. Gets it woed down while we're waiting. We will go to our next driver on the pit lane there. You see him at the end of pit road. That's Ron Holmes out of Bentley Motorsports. Ron been getting more and more consistent, looking to keep it up this week as he starts to climb in the point standings. He's really starting to see his and his team's work pay off, as all of those Bentley Motorsports cars are running really well in points right now. Looking to get all 5 locked in the playoffs. So Zach Camella is already locked in, with several of their other drivers in really good points positions right now. They're looking to get Ron up there with them. And they'll look to start that this week in Atlanta. New paint scheme for Mr. Holmes this week. The variation on the U.S. Marines colors. A sleek yellow, black, and camel look for him this week as he starts his first lap. The same strategy as Ferdiani has. Carry some speed, maybe run a little bit lower on the second lap. We'll see. Obviously, the focus on lap 1 is to carry some speed, get some momentum, and at least just put a lap on the racetrack in case the second lap does not go as planned. First lap for Ron. Comes in at a 30.977. You saw him lifting a little bit there. You wonder if he was maybe saving a little bit of tire for the second lap. Oh, wow. He dips really low in turns 1 and 2. Down below, all 4 tires down below that seam, as close to the bottom as we're probably going to see most anybody run tonight. He may do the same thing, trying to arc that corner. Rides it a little bit higher in 3 and 4. Now dips down, turns down the banking, slides the car, but holds onto it. Second lap for Ron is a 30.488. So that slide off turn 4 kind of cost him some precious time.
Tonight is a lot of guys having trouble with that turn 4 exit. I'm expecting to see it in the race too.
Well, you'll recognize the next guy on the grid, and that's last week's winner, Mason Hausman. He's the third guy onto the speedway.
That's a DQ.
Locked himself. I don't think he was burning fuel. Maybe just his usual antics. That'd be not really a character, but just kind of one of those guys. He's always doing something crazy, funny, whatever it may be. So, Hausman looking to continue on some great positive momentum last week. After winning in Bristol, won the last restart. Beat a couple guys.
Mason's disqualified from qualifying.
Beat a couple guys who we expected to be very good. I'll contribute this. I did not hear him revving his engine for very long. I think it was. I think it was just maybe for a couple seconds. So he runs high here, trying to get a lap on the speedway, trying to get a decent time out of the second lap, carry some momentum on a lap 2. Got really close to the outside wall, but he's going to carry some serious speed towards turn 1. Nearing 190 miles an hour, and he runs really low on the racetrack. Down the white line, we haven't seen anybody try this yet. Let's see if he can hold it. He does. Good. Turns 1 and 2 for Hausman. He's going to try to replicate it in turns 3 and 4. Be careful here on corner exit. Got to keep the car straight. Starts to ride up the racetrack. Holds it together to the line. This is going to be a pretty good lap right here. Hausman's second lap is a 29.773. That's a solid lap. So 29.773 goes on the board. That's a provisional pole lap. For the time being, at least.
Hey, I'm off the track if you want to.
So next on the speedway is going to be Marcus Miller, another guy coming off a really solid week in Bristol. Pretty decent finish for him. We'll see if he can keep it going in Atlanta as he starts to climb the points standings, trying to get his way into the playoff fight as we near halfway through the regular season. Familiar blue and orange colors on that Mustang this week. Off of turn 4, he'll start his first lap at the start-finish line. Yep, same as most of the guys tonight. You'll see this as a recurring pattern. Guys are either going to run the middle or against the wall on their first lap, try to get some momentum. Ooh, slid it off turn 2, big time right there. Holds it together. Off into 3, right dead center of the racetrack. Ooh, car slid out way out from under him. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh, hold it together, Marcus. Not quite. Now he does. No, he doesn't. Yes, he does. Well, an excellent job to keep it off the wall. I'll give him that much, but lap's not going to be good, but that was incredible to watch. I'll give him that much. Good grief. I have no idea how he kept that car off the wall.
Nah, it's good. I was starting back anyways.
So he'll come across and put down a lap. The time will not be what he wants. You got to respect the effort to keep that thing off the wall. He fought the car all the way down the front straightaway. So he'll put a lap down. It will not be what he wants. It's a 45.892. He'll start near the back of the pack with Cody Harrelson. But it goes to show again, these guys are fighting for grip between the hot track temp and just the fact these cars at 1.5 miles kind of don't have the grip they used to. Guys have to fight the car a little bit more.
Hey, one thing we haven't mentioned yet either is that there is currently a 10-mile-per-hour southwest wind blowing these guys around, mostly in that turn 4. So
Yeah, it definitely affects that side of the racetrack. It affects the car. Obviously, as you're trying to get through the corner, the wind shifts a little bit, sends your car one way or the other. Kind of throws you off on corner exit especially. So the wind did not help Marcus's case, but regardless, he keeps the car clean, and I think that's the biggest part of it. So Brandon Williams rolls onto the speedway now. He's the next qualifier on the racetrack. Had his first start last week at Bristol.
Yeah, just like his son, new to iRacing, new to the league. So it'll be interesting to see if he grows at the same rate that we saw Griffin do over the past couple of races.
Well, I can tell you he is pretty fast. He has said he's kind of taking his time getting to know the guys around him in the league, kind of getting his feet back under him from sim racing. Took a bit of a break from sim racing. He's back in it now, though, and trying to kind of get his legs back under him. Yeah, and an okay run in Bristol. He slides the car big time on the apron, but he had a good run, pretty good run in Bristol. Like he was saying, kind of rode around, kind of trying to learn the ropes. But I assume at some point here in the next few weeks, he's going to start to amp it up a little bit. And I expect him to be pretty consistently fast as we near the end of the regular season. His first lap's a 32.013. He saw him have to save the car big time in turn 1, so see if he does a little bit better. Oh yeah, turns 1 and 2 definitely a lot better for him right there. And he brings it down the back straight away. Off into turn 3. Car ran a little bit high on him. Turns it down the banking though. We'll see what the time is. Lap 2, Brandon Williams. It is a 30.741. So already between Bristol and now, you can tell the time difference between him and the rest of the field is already got a lot smaller. These guys need to be on alert here in the next few weeks for Brandon Williams. He's going to be fast by the time we reach our All-Star break in a couple of weeks. Next on to the Speedway, going to be the second of the Bentley Motorsports entries. It's going to be Nathan Bentley, and as he rolls out, I want to mention something I forgot at the beginning of the stream, which is, I don't know how I forgot this, but we are, as always, sponsored by our good buddy, William and Supreme Abe. JCB Excavation, obviously a season-long sponsor for us, as well as Supreme Abe giving us big help early on in the process of growing. So thank you to those guys, as always. And we love getting to work with them, and they are always so flexible with us when we're talking about league stuff with them, and so it's good to have them on board. Nathan Bentley, the second of the 4 Bentley Motorsports entries that will run this week and next week in Atlanta and Chicagoland. We'll be missing Zach Camella for a couple of weeks, as he is currently moving to a new home. So definitely wishing him all the best in that effort. He said he should be back either before or after the All-Star break. Luckily for him, he's already locked into the playoffs with his win at Las Vegas. So not going to have to worry about points other than racking up some playoff points in the last 6 or 7 races before we start the playoffs in the month of June. Nathan Bentley's first lap is a 30.809. He'll start his second lap right here. Running high, now turns it down the banking. Closer to the middle. Carried some really good speed off there. His time may be a little bit off the leader, but we'll see here, because he's carrying a ton of speed. Off 4, Nathan Bentley to the start-finish line. Better hope he didn't clip the grass right there. He did not. He'll put on a 30.086. It's third best at the time. Pretty decent lap for Nathan Bentley. And he'll bring his machine down the pit road here as he comes into turn number 3. Next car on to the Speedway is going to be Adrian Piedra. He'll roll out for his 2 laps. Adrian, a guy who has been running with us since Charlotte and has looked good in all of his starts. This guy is fast, no question about it. And he is quickly climbing the point standings with really, really solid finishes in all three of his starts with us so far. Obviously led the most laps in his first start at Charlotte. Was pretty much on track to win. He had probably had to win a late race start at Indianapolis. Had some internet problems plague him there. But he had a really good run. And last week in Bristol, coming up just short with a third place finish, being second on the last restart.
Yeah, he's came in late, but he's become a staple whenever it comes to the league itself. So much so that a lot of the guys have started calling that high line that he runs all the way up next to the wall the Piedra line.
Well, he's running way up top. Yeah, you'll see him run this in the race, I'm sure. This is not only a qualifying momentum carrier for him, it's going to be his race line at some point. You saw him running at Charlotte right up against the fence. And we've seen, as he runs at 30.228, we've seen with the new iRacing build that we've gotten in the last couple of weeks, multi-groove racing has really been improved to the point that guys can run right against the wall, Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick style, and carry some speed in race conditions. Obviously, he's going to run the bottom for qualifying, but he is so good at running right up next to the fence, utilizing the side force and the momentum you can carry off that top line. Second lap for Piedra. Looked like a good one? Is a good one. 29.685. That's a blistering lap.
That is very hard to do at this track.
That's going to take him to the top of the board. I knew it looked good. He apexed those corners big time. And it's going to take him to the pole position. So we'll let him roll off the speedway. Louis. So Clint McGill, the first team fist entry onto the speedway. He brings the 19 machine onto the speedway. He and, well, obviously Matthew Fleming is pretty secure in points right now. May see him qualify, may not. We'll see if he's in here or not. I don't think he is currently. And he's not. But he will probably qualify a little bit later on. But Fleming obviously in a very secure point spot right now. But Clint McGill and his teammate Michael Lanfear, while both have been running more consistently the past couple weeks, they find themselves right in the thick of the playoff points battle. They are both either on or near the bubble. I don't have them actually pulled up in front of me right now, so I can't tell you for sure. They're both in the heat of it right now, looking for good runs. Good, consistent finishes to get as many points as possible. First lap for Clint, 30.238. And I'll tell you what, all three of those cars have gotten faster since the start of the season. I know they put in probably some of the hardest work of anybody in the field when it comes to practicing. I mean, it seems they're always practicing. When I look to see what they're up to during the week, and it is paying off. All three of those cars are showing some serious speed here just in a couple weeks since they've started the extra little bit of practice time, a little bit more track time. And it shows right there as Clint McGill runs a 30.048. It's good for third on the board. So pretty good lap for Mr. McGill. And next we will move to another one of our new faces joining us this week. It is Louis Accardo in the 15 Ford Mustang. We'll give Clint just a second, and now Mr. Accardo will roll onto the speedway for his first attempt at qualifying. And I can tell you, from the little bit of practice I've seen him do, this guy's going to put up a fight this week. He's got some serious speed on these 1.5 miles. So we'll see what he can do in his qualifying effort. The Mac Tonight colors on that 15. Nice throwback to Bill Elliott there. Fitting, as we are in Atlanta. So he'll bring his machine up to speed down the back straightaway. Now in another league without playoffs or a win and you're in, we might say he's kind of way behind the 8 ball, but one either lucky break or dominant run could land Louis a spot in the playoffs. So everything goes right for him here this week or any week leading up to our regular season finale at North Wilkesboro. And he is locked in, regardless of his points position.
Yeah, and it has certainly been interesting in terms of the win and you're in system. I mean, 5 different races, 5 different winners so far, so plenty of these guys have an opportunity.
Oh, yeah, we'll see if the trend continues this week. Obviously, with several of our previous winners missing out on the race, it's going to provide a little bit better chance for a guy like Louis Ricardo, a guy like Adrian Piedra, a guy like Clint McGill even, to get a victory to lock themselves into the playoffs. First lap for Louis Ricardo was a 30.182. This looks pretty good on his second one, though. He's carrying some speed off turn 4. Let's see what he runs on his second lap. How about a 29.878 for him? So that's a pretty good way to make a good first impression on the rest of the field. Does just that in his first run. Puts him third for now. Still plenty of cars to get out of the racetrack, though, so we'll move right into our next qualifier. Once we got to 15, take a second to get off the racing surface here. But next on to the Speedway. And it's going to be another previous race winner, our race winner from Charlotte. Justin Kane in the 12, the BetMGM Chevrolet out of Thick Hick Motorsports. So Justin locked into the playoffs as well. We know he's good on a 1.5 miles. Had incredible speed at Charlotte. We'll see if he can carry that over to this week as well. Another guy that joined a little bit later in the season than the guys you saw run Daytona, but a guy who has made an impression nonetheless, obviously locking himself into the playoffs in what I believe was his first start. So let's see if he can carry it over. He starts lap number 1. Running way up close. Maybe not quite as high up as Piedra, but I don't expect many guys to go up that high anyway.
Yeah, it's a very nerve-wracking situation being up that close to the wall. You really are afraid to get into any sort of contact and burn some speed on that.
Yeah, obviously tomorrow in the race we'll see more guys test a little bit higher up there on that top groove, but tonight, not so much. First lap for Justin Kane's a 30.277. Pretty good corner exit right there off turns 1 and 2. Off into 3 and 4. Oh, may have slid it a little bit. Didn't cost him much, though. To the line, Justin Kane. Comes home with a 29.834. So move him to third now. In the 12.
I'm sure all of the Justin Kane fans we have out there are going to be disappointed in his performance from that, but I think that was great. Seems that from the little bit of chatter that we've seen in the previous weeks, anything that Justin does that is sub Adrian Piedra, they're on his case about, so might be a little bit of a perfectionist.
Yeah, it seems like it's always a battle going on in the is it the Twitch chat or the YouTube chat that they're
a little bit of both
in? Oh, wow, okay. The battle has expanded then. Good. So we'll move on down to another new entry to Full Pedal Jacket. This is John Curtis in the 117.
He's another guy that's shown a lot of speed at this track, especially whenever we did our practice race yesterday. So I'm excited to see what he can come out here and do.
He runs up near the top of the racetrack, coming off 4 and getting ready to start his first of 2 laps. A new startup team for him as well, Runts Racing. And it is him and Alex Coffey in the 007. You'll see him a little bit later on. Both these guys are very fast as well. So the competition just keeps getting more heated. The more drivers come to take their talents to full pedal jacket and put it out on the racetrack, so it's going to make it harder to get race wins. Let's see what these guys can do. First lap from John Curtis is 30.543. Off turn number 2 down the backstretch on his second lap. Almost halfway through our scheduled qualifiers. Curtis through 3 and 4, carrying some good speed through there. Rides up the racetrack. To the line, John Curtis, second lap. It is a 29.919, so another lap sub 30 seconds. He'll place 5th for the time being. No one's still able to touch those top 2 laps of Piedra and Mason Hausman.
Yeah, I'm looking at the weather here. It may be kind of tough to get close to those two guys as the track temperature is raised all the way up to 84 degrees now. So pretty far away from the 70 degrees that we started with in our original practice session that we had.
It hasn't been all that long since Piedra took the racetrack, and he ran the fastest lap of the session. So we'll see. Still got some solid qualifiers coming up, so we'll see if anybody can challenge that top lap. Really, the top 2 laps. And here's one of the guys that could do it. Tyler Bentley. He is, if I am not mistaken, still the points leader. In fact, he's extended his points lead after Bristol with a second place finish and a good amount of stage points. So
third place
he's doing
finish.
all the right things. Was it a second or a third?
I believe Logan Ikra came in second place in that race.
That's right. Oh, man, how could I forget? I got a little bit wrapped up in the photo finish that we apparently missed between Bentley and Piedra at the end of the Bristol race after they got into it on the last lap. So,
yeah, that is one to be sure to maybe watch in short stints. A bit of a caution fest as you would expect from a short track like that, but definitely some good racing, especially our final stage there.
It was rough at times, but ended up producing us a pretty good finish when it came down to it. So, all in all, a good event as we put on for all 5 races. I don't expect any less out of this event from Atlanta. Really, the entire regular season is going to be interesting, especially as we leave here and go to Chicagoland, which will be followed by our All-Star break, I believe. I think I've got that right. So we go to Chicagoland next week, and after that we get the All-Star break. I'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute as Bentley comes home with a 29.833. So move him third to the board. Still not touching those top 2 laps, though. So Piedra and Hausman keep their spots on the top 2. And we'll go to our next qualifier. It'll be Michael Lanphier out of Team Fist Racing. We'll give it just a second here for Tyler to clear the racing surface. And here comes Mr. Lanphier onto the speedway. Michael Lanphier, I was talking earlier about Clint McGill and how that entire team really had been improving slowly. Not really even slowly anymore. The improvement is kind of going to be exponential. It seems like every week they're always doing something that is just out of this world improvement-wise, and we definitely expect no less out of them this week. Lanphier, another guy. I was talking about McGill. He is right in the middle of the playoff points battle. Remember, 12 drivers get in. With already 5 winners, points are going to mean a ton. Obviously, the ultimate goal, if we end up getting more first-time winners, is going to be to win a race, but at this point, you still got to be thinking about points. If you're one of the guys sitting around 11th, 12th, 13th in points. So we'll see what Michael Lanphier's got for us this week. And the backstretch, you can kind of see here in this camera angle, wide camera angle off turn 2, you can see the bump. There's a bump right at the exit of 2, and a pretty decent bump right near the exit of 4, and it can really set the car off and shoot the back end around as the car bottoms out over one of those bumps. Atlanta, an old racing surface, so it has aged over the 20-plus years that they've used this current surface. So you can definitely tell, even down the backstretch, you can tell how bumpy it is. But it is really, really bad in the corners, so tomorrow during the race, it's going to be interesting to see how these guys handle running the bottom in a pack. Second lap for Michael Lanfear. 29.885, so he cracks the sub 30 and comes home for now in P6. A decent effort there by Michael Lanfear. We'll see what he can do tomorrow night in the race. Next car on the racetrack is going to be another Supreme Motorsports entry. That's Griffin Williams in the 0-2. Griffin saw his streak of 3 straight top 10s come to an end last week at Bristol. Did not have the 91, but labored through it.
Griffin?
Gained a few more spots. Griffin's a guy that, unless that car literally will not run anymore, and even sometimes then, he will limp that thing back out on the racetrack and finish. He's all about the points.
Oh yeah, I believe the only reason we learned afterwards why Griffin did not finish the last race was because they had to swap an entire engine out of that thing, taking up nearly 35 minutes of time, which unfortunately put him in a position where he could not gain nor lose any spots on the track.
A mid-race engine swap for the 0-2. That's the commitment he puts in. He always wants to maximize his points for any certain race. And definitely no less important as we get closer to the end of the regular season. It's paying off for him. Obviously, 3 straight top 10s there earlier on in the season has got him in a decent points position. He's on the outside looking in, but a few more consistent runs, and he'll be right in the middle of it. First lap for him is 30.87, although you did see him slide the car off turn number 2. Way high this time. See, he's carrying some speed off of it, but
yeah, I think he's opting for the safer yet faster corner exit of running the middle, not wanting to go too high where there's the bumps coming through 3 and not wanting to get too low where you're going to get loose.
He brings it off turn number 4 and down to the start-finish line. Griffin Williams in with a 30.077. Maybe a smart strategy for him. Obviously, the middle is probably going to be a pretty dominant line in the short run tomorrow night. So get some experience with it and see how it plays out for you in the race. So Griffin is 10th for the time being. Next on to the speedway is the guy I happened to forget earlier. It's Logan Ekra in the 13. Out of RRE, same team as Adrian Piedra. Ekra with his career best finish last week of 2nd. And it's another guy, we've been harping on this for several guys in the field, and the improvement level is ramping up week by week. You can tell that guys like Ekra, Griffin Williams, and others have gotten faster. And so we'll see if Ekra can carry over some of that momentum into this week's race in Atlanta. You'll see the green flag right here for his first lap. Still no cars getting up there into the 29.7s or 29.6 range where we see Piedra and Hausman right now. Closest we've seen are Tyler Bentley and Justin Kane, a 29.833 and a 29.834. It's as close as anybody's gotten. First lap for Logan Ekra as he brings that thing down to the start-finish line. Is a 30.436. Yeah, pretty good 1 and 2 for him. May have slid it a little bit, didn't cost him any speed though. Off into 3 on his second lap. See if he can keep it up. Turns down the banking, down underneath that first seam. Off turn number 4, coming down to the start-finish line. Second lap for Logan Ekra. Is a 30.037, so it does pay off for him there. And he'll be 8th for the time being. Very close to cracking the 29s. But an 8th place run is very, very solid. Next on to the speedway. It's going to be Don Milkowicz. He made his first start last week at Bristol. Ran well for most of the night, so another good first impression. He looks to continue that here this week. In the 54.
Yeah, Don, new to the league, but not new to some of us. We've raced with him quite a few times, so we know the kind of speed that he has, and I know he's just waiting for a good track and a good opportunity to show off what he can do.
Yeah, I know from experience that he is fast. If he can get a good lap in, he's going to look to do just that. Expect him to be competitive as well. As he starts his first lap. Runs way up high, maybe saving a little tire. We've seen some guys do it, some guys haven't. Just kind of depends on what your strategy is, whether or not you save tire, run the top, lift off the gas, save it for the second lap, or just run high, or maybe run the middle. These guys all have different ways to do it to try to be fast. First lap for Don is a 31.056. Starts his second lap running right down close to that white line. Off two, down the backstretch, right along that second seam in the racetrack. Not quite right against the wall. Drives it down the banking, close to the white line again. All four tires underneath that white seam. This may be a pretty good lap for him right here. We'll see. To the line, Don Milkowicz's second lap is a 29.97. Move him to 8th for the time being.
Yeah, it's looking pretty hard for anybody who's running a sub 30-second lap to get into the top 10 now. There's one spot left, and to beat it, you have to be pretty close.
So we'll wait just a few extra seconds here because Don is not quite clear of the racetrack. No, he's not. He just crossed the start-finish line.
You're good.
So now our next
Am I good now?
qualifier will take his 2 laps here, make his way onto the speedway to the Bentley Motorsports entry. This time it's Brady Shue, the number 9 Coors Ford Mustang. And I think it would be an understatement to say that Brady was not happy with his run last week. Seems like every wreck that happened in front of him, he ended up involved in, not by his own doing. Just kind of wrong place, wrong time. So he looks to kind of get away from last week, get a good run in this week, and get back on track. He'll start his first lap. Still pretty solid in the points. He's pretty secure when it comes to above the cut line, but that can all change with a couple of bad races. So he's looking to just get back to normal and get back to running consistent and trying to climb a little bit higher in the points. Puts more distance between him and the cut line. First lap for Brady is a 30.204. He starts his second lap. Yeah, definitely wants to get back into the ways of consistency here because after the All-Star break, the schedule gets very unpredictable. We get Talladega, Road Atlanta, Watkins Glen. We've got a ton of wild card tracks per se. So he wants to go ahead and make sure he's on the right track before we get to that point. Second lap for him is a 29.916. That's a good way to start back on the consistency train. Put him 7th in that Bentley Motorsports Ford.
Yeah, now, talking about the wildcard tracks we have coming up, I know one that he has particularly been practicing for has been Watkins Glen, so it'll be interesting if he doesn't get a good finish here, what he can do on that track, maybe hunt a win down on our one of our first road courses.
So next on the speedway is going to be Jacob Hop. Ran well at Indy last week. Or not Indy, excuse me. Indy was a couple weeks ago now. Ran well at Bristol, though. Had a good qualifying effort. Was up front most of the day. Another guy that's getting faster. He was already fast when he got here, but he's already, you can tell, gotten faster. Off turn 2. Get ready to start his first lap when he comes around. Jacob Hop looking to get up the point standings. Done a pretty good job of it so far with a couple of good finishes. He's looking to get some more.
Yeah, one of the guys that joined in late to the league that is rising through the point standings fairly quickly with his consistent high finishes.
Yeah, and it helps that he gets a good qualifying effort at most of the racetracks we've been to. He knows how to set a good qualifying lap. We'll see if he can do it here. He's running the high side this time, carrying some serious momentum onto his second lap, so let's see what he's got for us here on lap number 2. On the back stretch, kind of weave over those bumps. Off into 3 and 4, trying to hold it on the bottom. Let's the car right up the racetrack, down really close to the bottom, trying to gain a couple hundredths of a second. 29.761. It pays off. Move him to second on the board. So when we thought that maybe no one could get close to those top 2, Jacob Hop proves us wrong and goes to second on the board. So a really, really good lap for him. And that is quite an effort. Next on to the speedway is going to be DJ Thomas. A rough few weeks would be an understatement for him. He runs well, but in the case of Bristol, obviously it being a kind of a parade of cautions, not much time to get any momentum. So if you found yourself in a rough spot early, there was really no chance for a comeback. I mean, obviously we saw a few guys kind of break that mold, but DJ's just had an unlucky few weeks, so he is hoping for a good, clean, and non-eventful run this week, if he can help it.
As long as he doesn't meet the inside wall or the pit wall, I think he'll do pretty good this race.
Yeah, he's good on the 1.5 miles, so he's solid. So he was good at Charlotte, good at Vegas. Obviously, we got some tracks coming up where he is going to be solid. Obviously, Michigan coming up shortly after the All-Star break. Obviously, that being his home track, he'll be pretty good there. He loves racing there, but he likes the 1.5 miles. First lap for DJ is a 30.322. So you saw him take it a little bit easy on the first lap, and this is why. He's carrying some speed on the second lap. We'll see what he runs. Off turn 4, down to the start-finish line. DJ with a 29.795. 4th place on the board right now.
Might be getting a little help there from Mason Hausman, running very similar lap times out of the teammates.
Yeah, definitely. Expect the teammates to kind of work together, and it kind of shows where they're at in the qualifying order. The Team Fisk guys are near each other. The Bentley guys are kind of in the same general area of the standings, and oh yeah, that's right. So obviously, or he's got something figured out. I don't know what they're, I don't know if they're eating their Wheaties or what, but
they have learned.
They have learned something. Yeah. They're doing something nobody else is doing, apparently. So next on the speedway is going to be another new name to Pedal Jacket. This is Jalen Parker in the 58. With the McDonald's colors on that Toyota Camry.
That paint scheme is making me hungry.
I mean, yeah, I can agree with that. He'll start his first lap. Kind of bleeding the throttle a little bit. Trying to carry some momentum. Save a little bit of tire for that second lap, which is where you want to burn them. And put on the best time you can. 4 cars are sub 29.8. And Parker wants to make himself the 5th. First lap for him was a 30.235. I see running in the middle, so we'll see. And he is, holy cow, he is right down against that white line. That's the lowest I've seen anybody run. That's lower than Piedra. We'll see what his lap time is, but that was lower than I saw Piedra run going into 1 and 2. He runs a little bit higher there in 3 and 4. Slides the car.
Oh,
hits
no!
the wall. Big time hit.
That is very unfortunate to see.
He did get a lap in though.
It's going to wheel it across the line.
We're going back to what we said a little bit earlier. Obviously, it's kind of what Griffin did, is set down a lap, at least put yourself on the qualifying order, and work on it during the race. You can tell this guy's fast. I mean, you can tell he's got some serious single-car speed, and he is holding that car. I mean, it was right on the apron. I've never seen anybody run that close to the apron here. It's not on the new build, but wow.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate to see him do that. I'm sure he was going to sit very close to those top 2 laps that we saw, but that's kind of the risk you run while you see some guys running that middle line like you were talking to Griffin doing. Sometimes it's safer to just go out and put down a safe lap and not have to worry about hitting the wall and wasting your time on your second lap there. So unfortunate to see, but with the amount of speed that we saw him carrying, I think he's going to be able to make his way through this field whenever it comes to race day.
And with that said, next on to the speedway is the teammate of Jalen Parker, Lucas Sylvester, another new name to Full Pedal Jacket. A really sharp-looking race car for Lucas here in his first go at qualifying. It can be encouraging to watch your teammate go out there and smack the outside wall and then have to go right out there after him and put down a lap. We'll see if...
yeah, he might be running a different line here than what we saw originally.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see if maybe he changes his strategy a little bit now that his teammate is put in the wall. See if he can
Say what's next.
things up a little bit better. 30.645 is the first lap for Sylvester. On the backstretch for the final time. Off of turn 4 to the line. Sylvester with a 29.992, good for 12th. Pretty good run for him in his first effort in qualifying. See if he can improve on that in the race tomorrow. So next on to the speedway will be Alex Coffey in the 007, teammate to John Curtis. We talked about them earlier. So the second of the two runs racing cars. You see the matching paint schemes. John Curtis in white and blue, Alex Coffey in white and red.
Yeah,
Coffey
very
was the
interesting choice in paints. Going with a matching, we see Team Fist originally had that with Clint McGill and Michael Lampier, but very sharp cars. I'm enjoying seeing them.
Oh yeah, they're definitely sharp to look at, and apparently they're sharp on the racetrack as well. Alex Coffey was our fastest driver in our practice here before the qualifying started. See if we can translate that over to his qualifying speed. So he'll start his first two. He's going to decide to run the fast one now. He's not wasting any time. He's going for it here on lap number 1. It's a little bit of a different strategy. He's just going to try to burn him off and go run a good one. Well, and as I said, he runs the middle. I don't know. I never like to guess these guys' strategies. They always have something going that I don't think of. So we'll see what kind of lap he runs on his second one. It's definitely carrying a ton of speed down the front stretch. I can tell you that much. He runs a 29.995 on his first. That's the fastest first lap we've seen all afternoon or evening. Afternoon in the sim, evening outside of the sim.
Yeah, might be running a different strategy. As you notice, there's been a little bit of sun peeking out, so that might have something to do with what his strategy and plan is here.
I can tell you he is carrying a ton of speed. Second lap for Alex Coffey. Send him to second. 29.699. Only the second car to hit the 29.6s. And how about that for a first impression?
And that is one way to do it. Come out with a different strategy than what you've seen all the other guys who are up there in the mid to low 29s.
Sheesh.
And show them what you can do.
And he puts the field that was already running the past few weeks, he puts all of them on notice. He is here to compete. And another new name following up on to the Speedway. And that is the number 11 Led Zeppelin machine of Clayton Fry. So he'll take his first efforts here in qualifying. And we'll see his teammate as well in a few minutes, Ian Nelson. For now, though, Clayton will start his first lap when we come around to the start-finish line.
Clayton, new to the league, but has already helped us out a ton with getting some of these setups that we're going to be using in future races. So big shout out to him for coming in here and really trying to be active and part of the league from the get-go.
Yeah, and I know he's got some speed. I know he wants to show off the speed, although I had heard that he was not going to run this week because he did not have the track. But he changed his mind. He's running Atlanta with us this week. So good to see him coming in a little bit earlier than expected. He is fast and just a great guy to have in the league. Great personality. And definitely good to have his input when we're running practice. He comes across with a 30.341 on his first lap. Down the backstretch on his second lap here. Headed towards turn 3. Oh man, to save the car, it rode up the racetrack. Still pretty good speed off turn 4 though. Second lap for Clayton Fry is a 30.004. Good for 14th on the board right now. So almost in the sub-30s, even with that slide in turns 3 and 4. That would appear to be a slide.
Yeah, we see something. There's an ongoing trend here with our qualifying laps to where every week the gap gets shorter and shorter.
Obviously, the new build makes things kind of even out a little bit. You can kind of tell in the racing quality, too. It takes a little bit of experimenting to really get fast in race pace. Obviously, we've seen Pietro do it already, especially at 1.5 miles. So we'll see what guys utilize this week on a different 1.5 miles. Similar to Charlotte, but not quite. It's a little bit more bumpy. Obviously, you drive it a little bit differently than you do Charlotte now. So next on the Speedway is the 28 of Ian Nelson. So the teammate to Clayton Fry, the Red Eye Racing teammates, running their qualifying laps back to back. Ian, another guy that has plenty of speed, and you expect him to show it off here starting as soon as this week. I'll tell you what, you do not want to miss, well, any of the rest of the races, but with so many new names making their debuts tomorrow night, you will not want to miss tomorrow night's race from Atlanta. It's going to be a good one. Atlanta is a great racetrack, and we'll put on a show for everybody out there. First lap for Ian Nelson is a 30.56. On turn 2 in a second lap. Second lap for Nelson, a 30.186. So put him 20th for the time being. And I think, if I'm looking at the entry list here that we currently have in the session, I believe that's going to end our streamed part of our qualifying. We'll see. Giving me just a second here. Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody that has not taken to the racetrack yet, so...
Now, we have been informed, maybe showing up a little bit later on in this qualifying. As you'll notice, we have 29 and a half minutes just about left in this session for guys to get in here and run their laps. So instead of just sitting in here with nothing for us to really talk about, we normally end these streams as soon as our last qualifier who has shown up from the beginning gets his lap done. As far as notable mentions for guys who have not qualified but have informed us that they will be planning on qualifying is Philip Isaac and Matthew Fleming. So maybe not going to get a chance to see their laps here, but might see a little bit of a change up here with some of these guys maybe in the top 10, maybe a little bit farther back. Definitely a few changes to come to the starting grid whenever it comes to tomorrow's race.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, man, you're going to want to be here to see it tomorrow night at 8 p.m. as per the usual. So we'll go through the starting order here as we wrap up tonight's events. Let me just got to get rid of the one of the overlays on my own personal screen so I can see it for you. So our first row, our pole sitter is going to be Adrian Piedra. And outside of him is going to be the newcomer Alex Coffey out of Runts Racing. So pretty interesting front row there. Yeah, proven mile-and-a-half racer getting his chance to start on pole. And one of our newest entries get his first shot in racing action. Row number 2 is going to be a couple of established Full Pedal Jacket members. Jacob Hopp out of RRE on the inside of row number 2. And Mason Hausman, last week's winner, is going to start from P4. Row number 3 is going to be DJ Thomas out of Supreme Motorsports. And Tyler Bentley, the Bentley Motorsports entry, the points leader. Row behind them, row number 4. Starting 7th is going to be Justin Kane in the 12. And outside him, Louis Accardo, the newcomer in the Mactonite Ford Mustang. Row behind them, row number 5. Starting 9th, the Team Fist entry of Michael Lanfear. And another Bentley Motorsports machine of Brady Shue. Going outside the top 10 now. Row number 6 will consist of the Runts Racing 117 of John Curtis. And Don Milkowicz in the 54. Next row, row 7, starting 13th, Lucas Sylvester in the number 85, and Clayton Fry in the number 11. So a row of debuting drivers there in row number 7. Row number 8, a couple more established racers. We got Logan Eker out of RRE and Clinton McGill out of Team Fist Racing. Next up, Paul Ferdiani starting there in, I believe, the 17th position, if I am correct. And Griffin Williams will be outside of him there, getting near to the back of the field. We'll kind of just go through the rest of the field now. So behind them, you got Nathan Bentley, Ian Nelson, the newcomer. Jalen Parker will start right behind those two. And Ron Holmes rounding out, or getting close to rounding out the rest of the field. Last two cars that put a lap down are Brandon Williams and Marcus Miller. A car that did not get a lap down was Cody Harrelson. For now, he'll round out the known part of the grid. Obviously, a little bit later on, may have to add a qualifier to that. We will get into that in depth tomorrow, right as we start our race stream. 8 p.m. Eastern. Be here to see it. Maybe a little bit after 8 when we actually get going, but get here early and make sure to be ready for all our pre-race festivities as usual. We'll get to talk to some of the drivers. I'm going to try tomorrow to talk to some of the newcomers and see what they're thinking before their first start in Full Pedal Jackets Intimidator Cup Series. Obviously, we'll try to get to talk to some of our more established names as well. So you will not want to miss that before tomorrow night's race. 170 laps on tap tomorrow night from Atlanta Motors Speedway. We'll get more into the format of tomorrow night's race when we go on the air for you tomorrow night. With all of that said, as usual, we want to thank our sponsors, JCB Excavation and William Rice and Supreme 8 there. again, as we talked about earlier, great partners to us, and we hope to have them on board here as we go on. With all that said, I definitely do not have anything else, Peyton.
I think that's all for me.
All right, well, with all that said, that's Peyton Jennings, league owner. I'm Dawson Wise, a.k.a. Big Hickory, and we hope to see you right back here tomorrow night for 170 action-packed laps from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Have a good night, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow.